First story. My father disciplined my son with his belt and my entitled wife snatched it, beat my father in front of everyone, called him a bastard, and refused to apologize. That was the moment I walked away from her for good. We've been together 7 years, the relationship's solid. We've had normal arguments over the years, but nothing major. The one thing that's always caused tension is my parents, my wife, and they don't get along. They disagree on nearly everything, mostly on how we raise our son. My parents think she's too soft, that she lets our son walk all over her, and there's no structure. My wife thinks their parenting style is toxic, controlling, even borderline abusive. It's always been a line we've carefully walked around. I grew up getting the belt. I got in trouble plenty, but I learned how to just take it, not argue, and get it over with. That was the rule: mess up, get belted, move on. There were good times too. It wasn't all bad. I still think I turned out okay. My wife had a totally different upbringing. Her parents never hit her, never even yelled. They'd talk things out, explain what went wrong, and try to help her understand. She doesn't believe in any kind of physical discipline. Even though we came from different backgrounds, we've mostly been on the same page with our son. We talk to him. We set boundaries. Sometimes I struggle more than she does to keep calm. I've raised my voice and lost my patience, but I've never hit him. Our son is 4, high energy, wild sometimes. Lately, he's gotten into this habit of hiding things, usually harmless TV remote, shoes, small stuff. He thinks it's funny, but it can get frustrating really fast. Last week, my parents were babysitting while we ran a few errands. When we got back, our son was crying, not just upset, properly crying. He was sitting on the floor saying his bum hurt and his back hurt. My wife asked what happened. He said Grandpa hit him. I didn't even know what to say. My dad stood there and just said our son hit his car keys, and he ended up being late for work. My wife went over to pick our son up, and he winced when she touched his back. She held him and started checking him over right there. She asked if he was hit with the belt, and he nodded. She looked at me, then at my dad, then at the belt that was lying on the chair. She didn't say a word, just walked over, picked it up, swung it at my dad, then threw it down and said, "How does it feel, bastard?" and walked out with our son. I stood there like an idiot. My mom didn't say anything either. I picked up the keys and followed my wife out. She was already in the car trying to figure out how to seat our son without hurting him more. He couldn't even lean back. She ended up holding him. We didn't say a single word on the drive home. She kept whispering to him, telling him he was safe. I was driving, thinking about a million things, and none of them helpful. When we got home, she took him straight to the bathroom. I sat in the kitchen, not knowing what to do. I could hear her running the bath. I thought about going in there, but I didn't. I just waited. She came out later and said he was asleep. I tried to say something, but she didn't let me. She asked if I thought what my dad did was okay. I told her number. I said I didn't know he'd do that. She asked why I didn't say anything when our son told us. I didn't have a good answer. I told her I didn't agree with it, but I also said she shouldn't have hit my dad. She looked at me like I was completely lost. He hit our kid with the belt, and you're worried about how I reacted. I said I wasn't excusing what happened, but I didn't think it was just pure evil either. Maybe a tape here and there isn't the worst thing. Not the way my dad did it, but something to get the point across. She shook her head and said that wasn't parenting, that was straight up abuse. I reminded her we both agreed on no hitting, but also said our kid can be a handful, and maybe my dad thought he was doing the right thing. She said, then he doesn't belong around our kid at all. We went back and forth a bit more. It wasn't even shouting, just quiet and sharp. She told me this wasn't a one-time line cross that was a deal breaker. I tried to say maybe we could talk it out, get an apology, or something. But she said she didn't want her son anywhere near someone who thought that was okay. Then she left, packed a bag, grabbed our son, and left. That was 3 days ago. She blocked my number. I tried emailing her. No answer. The only message she sent was short and brutal. She said she checked our son again, and there were marks on his back too. Not just his bum. That it wasn't just a spanking. It was straight up belting all over. She said that confirmed it for her. My parents are never seeing our son again. That's not up for debate. So yeah, that was it. After that message, nothing. No call. No follow-up, just silence. I've been sitting with this for days now, and I don't know what to do. I don't agree with how my dad handled it. I don't think hitting a 4-year-old with a belt is okay, especially not like that, and especially not on his bare skin. But I also don't know how to wrap my head around the idea that my parents are just out, done, cut off completely from their grandson. That feels huge, like a permanent move for something they thought, and I'm not saying they were right, but something they thought was acceptable parenting. The way I was raised, this kind of thing wasn't shocking. If a kid messed up, there were consequences. It didn't mean you didn't love them. It was part of raising them. That's how I understood it growing up. And while I've moved away from that kind of parenting with my own son, I don't know if I can look at my dad and call him abusive the way my wife sees it. Harsh, yeah, over the line. Definitely. But is it unforgivable? My wife thinks it is. She's not budging. I've thought about reaching out to her parents, asking them to talk to her, but I'm not sure how that would go. I don't even know what I'd say. Can you help me fix this? But also tell her not to hate my dad for hurting our kid. That sounds messed up even as I write it, and I don't want this to become one of those situations where she feels like I'm putting her in a position to justify walking away. I called my mom to ask what happened exactly. She said my dad lost his temper. Our son hid the keys, and he'd already been late a couple of times that month, so he panicked. He got angry. She said she told him to stop, but he'd already hit him by then. She didn't go into much detail. She just said she's sorry, and that they didn't mean to hurt him. They were just trying to teach him a lesson. I asked her if they understood how serious this was. She said yes, but also that she doesn't think it was that bad. That really messed with me. If they don't even get it, how do I fix this? I'm caught in the middle. My wife's furious and hurt. My parents are standing there confused about why this has turned into what they're calling a family meltdown. And I'm here trying to figure out what the right move is. Part of me thinks maybe we do need space, that maybe they shouldn't be around our son for a while. But another part of me keeps going back to the fact that they're my parents. I can't just erase them from our lives. They helped us with rent when we were first married. They've always been present. They love our son. I owe them a lot. That matters too, right? But at the same time, my wife's not wrong. We agreed on how we were going to raise our kid. We've been clear about that from the start. No hitting, ever. My parents knew that. They chose to ignore it. Worse, they didn't even call us to tell us what happened. We had to walk in on our son crying to find out. That's not okay. I've been sleeping on the couch. Can't focus at work. Every time I think about what happened, I feel sick, and I keep going over the conversation with my wife in the kitchen, thinking about how I handled it. I didn't say the right things. I didn't back her up fast enough. I tried to play the middle, and all it did was make her feel like I was defending my dad more than our son. Now I don't even know if she's coming back. I'm not trying to excuse what happened. I just don't know what the right next step is. I don't want to raise my son in a house where he's afraid of people who are supposed to love him. But I also don't know how to move forward if I'm expected to completely cut out my own family. I've never felt this stuck. I've read stuff online, people saying, protect your kid at all costs, or cut out toxic people even if they're family. But it's not that simple when it's your parents, when it's people who were there your whole life. My wife is in full protection mode right now. I get that. I respect that. But I just wish she'd talk to me. I'm not her enemy. I want to fix this. I want us to be on the same page again. So yeah. I don't know where to go from here. Do I try to push for therapy? Do I tell my parents they need to apologize not just to her, but fully acknowledge what they did. Do I draw a line and say they're not allowed around our son until they get it? And what if they never do? I've never felt more torn between the people who raised me and the family I've built. Both sides feel like they're asking me to pick one. I just wish my wife would come home so we can discuss this. Comments. Comment 1. Your wife defended your kid when you didn't. Your father didn't just spank him. He beat a 4-year-old with a belt hard enough to leave marks on his back and make him cry from pain hours later. That's not discipline. That's violence. And you wanted her to apologize. Man, she showed more control than most. She could have and honestly should have called the cops. Comment 2. It's wild that you're framing this like my wife versus my parents, when the truth is your parents crossed a massive line, and your wife is doing what any sane parent would do to protect their child. Saying they're not welcome doesn't mean you can't ever see them. She's telling you they're not safe to be around your son. That's not petty, that's being a responsible mom. You're not being asked to pick sides, you're being asked to prioritize your kid. Comment 3. You're focusing on all the wrong things. Your dad beat your kid, full stop, and your reaction was to defend him, and then criticize your wife for being angry about it. You say it's hard because they're your parents, but what about your child? What about your wife? You say you didn't hit your son, okay, then why are you okay with someone else doing it, someone you trusted to care for him? If this was anyone else, you'd be furious, but because it's your dad, you're frozen. That's the real problem here. Update. I didn't plan on posting again, but some people asked what ended up happening. It's been a few months now, so here it is. First, I want to be clear about something. I didn't do a great job explaining last time. My relationship with my dad isn't just about discipline. Growing up, yeah, I got the belt, but I also had a dad who came home tired, but still helped with homework. He taught me how to fix things around the house. He showed up to every school event. He was strict, but he was there, and not just physically. He was present. And while I now understand that hitting a kid doesn't belong in parenting, I never felt unloved by him. That's what made this whole situation so hard to untangle in my head. After my wife left with our son, I took some time to really think about everything. I talked to my dad. We didn't yell or argue. I just asked him straight out if he thought what he did was okay. He said number. He said he lost his temper, that he hadn't planned to do it. But when our son laughed about the keys and kept hiding them, something in him just snapped. He told me he hadn't hit a kid in decades. He said he thought he was past that part of himself. He said seeing the marks later made him feel ashamed. He didn't apologize right away to my wife because, in his words, he was too proud to admit he'd screwed up in front of her like that. But he admitted he was wrong to me. He didn't ask me to defend him. He told me he'd stay away if that's what needed to happen. He said he'd understand. That conversation changed something in me. Not because it excused what he did, but because he actually owned it. I tried to share that with my wife. I reached out through her parents first. She let me see our son after a few weeks. We met at her parents' place. He was doing okay. He didn't talk much about what happened, just said, "I don't want to go to Grandpa's house again." And my wife made it clear she wasn't changing her mind about that. We had a few more conversations after that. None of them are easy. I told her what my dad said, that he acknowledged it was wrong, that he wasn't asking to be let back in, but that I didn't want our son growing up thinking he didn't have a grandfather who loved him. She didn't budge. She said love means nothing if it's not safe, that there's no place in our son's life for someone who hurt him like that, no matter how sorry they are afterwards. I told her I didn't want to cut off my family completely. She said she wasn't asking me to just that they couldn't be around our son. But when I pushed back, she said she didn't trust me to enforce that boundary long term, that I'd let them back, and when she wasn't looking, we reached a point where we couldn't get past it. Counseling didn't help. We were just too far apart on this. She moved in with her parents officially. I stayed in the apartment. We split custody. Not legally yet, but it's heading there. So yeah, that's where we are. The relationship is basically over. Not just over this one thing, but because it exposed the divide between us that we'd both been skirting around for years. About parenting, about boundaries, about family. And when it came down to it, We couldn't find a middle ground that we both felt okay living with. I still see my dad. Not as much. It's quieter now. More distant. My mom's not the same. Either she took this hard. There's a guilt hanging over everything, but no one says much about it. I miss my son every day. I don't see him. We try to keep things normal for him when he's with me. I don't talk about what happened. I don't try to push anything. Just try to be present. If you're reading this, and you're in the middle of something like this, don't wait until everything blows up to figure out your stance. Have the hard conversations early. And if you're a parent yourself, or letting someone else watch your kid, make sure they really understand what that means. Because once a line gets crossed like this, there's no easy way back. That's all I've got. I'm still figuring it out. Second story. My mom convinced herself that I'm sick and forced me to take the medications that could render me blind permanently. So I secretly told my doctor about my mom. Title: I know my mom is over-exaggerating my symptoms, but I don't know what to do. Hey doctors. I made a Reddit account for this question. After I did a Google search, it seemed like the safest way to get an answer privately. I'm a 15-year-old girl. I'm 5 and 82 pounds. I take Capra, hydroxychloroquine, and Adderall. I live in the U.S. This has been going on for 5 years. I'm diagnosed with epilepsy, undifferentiated connective tissue disorder, and ADHD. My mom thinks I have POTS, EDS, and some other things. Basically, I had a seizure once when I was about 10 on a school field trip. My mom had always been really intense anytime I got sick. She took me to the doctor for every single cold, but the seizure sent her overboard. And since then, she's basically been convinced that I have some kind of serious disease. At first I believed her. She was good at convincing me I was feeling things, or that stuff happened that I didn't remember because I was having a seizure. But the only one I know I had for sure was the one in 5th grade, and when I was at the hospital, they didn't find an obvious cause. Since then my mom takes me to all these appointments, claiming I have symptoms I don't, or making them sound way worse than they are. For example, she'll claim I'm having fevers, and that the only reason I don't have one in the clinic is because I took Tylenol. It'll be true that I took Tylenol, but not because I had a fever. She just gives it to me. She'll also have me take cold medicine before cardiology appointments. Like she says, "Here you're sniffly. Take this." But now I'm reading that cold medicine makes her heart rate go up, and half the time I don't even feel sniffly. It's like she'll plant things too. She'll start saying, "You seem lightheaded. Your joints look swollen. You look out of focus." Like she's trying to convince me, and it used to work. But now I'm sitting here like, I feel fine, and I'm sick of all these appointments. I want to do stuff with my friends and stop taking meds that make me be and sad and sick to my stomach. She'll take pictures at angles that make things look worse than they are. One time I got tons of bruises after playing on a water slide inflatable thing and taking a bunch of ibuprofen for joint pain. But I got tons of bruises from it, and she told the doctor they showed up with no cause. And I got a full leukemia workup, and she was telling everyone how I probably had leukemia. I didn't. I knew what it was from. But she convinced me that playing on inflatables would never cause that kind of bruising, unless I was really sick. So I didn't say anything. The problem is now it's been years, and I'm afraid if I say something, we're going to get in trouble. And then no doctor will ever believe me if I do get sick someday. I don't know why I didn't say something sooner. I've been pretty sure for like 2 years that she's making most of this up. But it's confusing, and I don't know. I thought maybe she was right, and I was just brushing off things. Sometimes it would feel like she was right. What do I do? Can I tell the doctors I see that it's probably not real? Or is this going to ruin my medical care forever? Also, I really did have a seizure when I was 10. I was at school, and there was a whole cafeteria of witnesses, so that wasn't made up. I don't even know what's real at this point, though. I had a high A and a 160. But I don't think a lot of the other symptoms that got the connective tissue disease diagnosis were real. I'm not trying to say it's not my fault too. I should have said something sooner. But I feel stuck. Please help me figure this out. I see a cardiologist Thursday, and I want this to be over. Also, I know my BMI is low. I don't eat a lot. I'm working on it. Some of Op's comments, to a commenter explaining Munchausen by proxy syndrome, and seeing if Op can go to the doc by herself. Op, I probably could go to a doctor myself, but my mom won't let me because she says it's important to have an adult who can explain things, and that she wants to make sure she knows the treatment plan. I also don't go back to school until September. Is there some way to signal to a doctor to ask me something alone, or to go make my mom sign papers or something? Commenter 1. If it's possible, and you can sneak away for a few minutes, you can call the doctor's office and let them know in advance that you need to speak to the doctor privately without your mother present. If it's not possible for you to sneak away and make the call, I would write a small, easily hidden note before you go and keep it in your pocket. After you're in the exam room, say that you need to use the bathroom. Hand the note to literally anybody staff-wise that you encounter. Make it a point to see someone on the staff. Even if you know where the restroom is, go ask them where it is as an excuse to pass the note. It can say something simple like, "Please let the doctor know I need to talk to them alone, and it's urgent, but I don't want my mom to be suspicious." Op, thank you. After I do that, what happens? Will they just tell my mom they didn't find anything, and I can be done? Or are we going to get in trouble? Is it going to make it hard if I have an issue in the future? Commenter 1. I can only speak as a physician in the United States. I'm not sure if you're based in the USA, but here, once you explain what's going on to your physician is required by law to report the abuse. And make no mistake, based on what you've told us here, you are being abused. An investigation will be opened, and you'll have a chance to tell investigators everything. The only one who's going to get in any trouble is your mother. You are a child. You are doing what your mother tells you to do, and everybody involved in the investigation will know that. You don't need to be worried about future visits. You'll be taken seriously. Your mom needs a mental health professional. She has a mental illness, and it's one that can quite literally put your life in danger. Life might absolutely suck for your family for a little while, but if your mom doesn't get better, she's going to make you get worse. Reaching out to your physician on Thursday is the first step in ensuring that your mother gets the help that she needs. Op, I'm in the USA. Does opening an investigation always mean I won't live with my mom anymore, or just she'll get therapy and help? Also, I think my doctors think my weight is from the illnesses they think I have, but it's not. I'm not really eating a lot, like on purpose, and I kind of want to mention it. But is this the right time? Or should I just do one thing at a time? I know I need to have more, and I'm trying, but it's not going all that well. To a comment calling it abuse. Abuse just feels like blowing it out of proportion. I know what you mean, and I know it's not right. It just feels like then I'm exaggerating. She's not hurting me. She's just pretending I'm hurt. Commenter 2. Nad, not a doctor. She doesn't want to hurt you. She almost certainly genuinely thinks she's helping, but has a mental illness. As the doctor above said, you need to put your health first, and since you sound concerned about her, you can support her as she gets help, and you don't have to stop loving or caring about her. Op, that makes me feel better too. I don't want to see her as some kind of bad guy. I just don't want to keep getting blood draws and lying to doctors. On eating less, I'm not trying to make myself feel sick by eating less. I'm not really sure why. I just like having something else that's mine, and she doesn't have any say in it. I think, like, I get to choose this one thing, if that makes sense. To comment 3 with some resources. I'll look at the resources. I think they think my weight is from something else. My mom has been saying I'm having bathroom issues, and I guess I kind of am. But I think it's because of how I'm eating, not the other way around. But it's getting hard to change how I eat, even when I want to now. Like with my friends, I can't relax those rules at all. Commenter 3. Nad, but a pharmacist. She is hurting you. You're currently taking hydroxychloroquine, which builds up over time in your eyes and causes blindness. We still use it in patients with serious diseases like lupus, MCTD, and UCTD because those diseases are so severe, and the risk of blindness is outweighed by the risk of organ damage, joint destruction, and death if you don't treat them. Typically, we start this medication in patients who are much older than you as well, to reduce how long the patient is exposed to the hydroxychloroquine. You are very young, and taking this medication over time could cause serious and irreversible changes to your vision. I'm not saying this to scare you or anyone else out of taking a necessary medication, but it sounds like in your case, there's a good chance it's not necessary. At the very least, you deserve to know if you really have UCTD or not, if the severity of the UCTD is to the point that you need to be on HCQ or not, and if the dose you're on is appropriate for your symptom level. You also deserve to not be blind in your 20s or 30s due to unnecessary medication use. I didn't know it could cause blindness. I know I started getting my eyes checked every year, but I thought it was because the disease could affect them. Adds, I know my mom watches my phone records, like who I call and text, so I'm not sure calling ahead is a good idea, but I think I'm going to write the note. Adds some thoughts in a comment. Same day, 9 hours later. Here's something else I've been thinking about since I posted, so I looked up some of the eating issue treatment stuff, and it looks like the main kind of therapy is family-based therapy, where your parents have to take over your whole diet, and that sounds horrible to me. First of all, I think my mom would maybe like it if I had a problem, and especially if it meant she got to be in charge of everything I eat and do. And that sounds like a nightmare to me, and I'm thinking maybe it's better not to say anything and wait until I'm an adult and I can deal with it alone. Dad, it's just me and my mom. My dad died when I was too little to remember. Do you think I can ask to go somewhere else to get better if it's too hard to do on my own? I really don't want her involved. For longer advice, comment. I get what you're saying. Thank you. I do actually like the cardiologist. He's nice, and he has a good sense of humor, and actually talks to me, and not just my mom, so I feel like he's a good person to start with. I just kind of panicked seeing family-based therapy. Update. 3 weeks later. 15F, 5'8", 80 pounds. I posted here once before because I knew my mom was lying about me being sicker than I was, and I wasn't sure how to handle it. I took everyone's advice, and I ended up telling them at the next appointment. After we checked in, I said I had to go to the bathroom, and I left a note with the nurse. I think my doctor maybe looked at it before the appointment actually because it took a really long time for us to go back. And then in the appointment, the doctor was asking a lot more probing questions and clarifying questions and pointing out inconsistencies, my mom said. And then he asked to talk to me by myself, and my mom by herself too. Actually, so I'm seeing a team of doctors now who wanted to verify some of the diagnoses that I had, and they admitted me to do that. Like in the hospital, there was always a nurse or someone in my room with me. I'm not 100% sure because no one actually told me this is why, but I'm guessing it was to make sure my mom didn't say or do anything or give me anything. Is that something they'd actually do? It sounds so dramatic, or maybe it's normal to check things out in the hospital like that. I don't know. Anyway, they're changing some of my diagnosis now, and my mom is talking with a counselor. She still maintains that she's not doing anything to me, and I'm really sick and just getting influenced by crime documentaries, adding she caught me listening to the podcast for context. But things are a little better. She's not supposed to be in charge of any of my meds now. I do that myself, and I write down everything I take and when in a journal so there's a record. And I'm not taking the hydroxychloroquine anymore. Thank you guys for telling me to say something. I was really afraid I was going to get in trouble, but no one was mad. Not even at my mom's actually. They were nice about it, maybe a little stern but nice.